Okay, so for this afternoon, we'll be discussing the pathology of the heart. So the scope of this lecture would include the anatomy, histology, physiology, down to the different pathology of the heart, from heart failure down to complications of cardiac transplantation. Okay, so remember sa inyong anatomy, physiology, and histology, the heart is a durable and a very important pump that is actually capable of supplying the body with adequate blood and nutrients. And it represents zero point 0.4 to zero point 0.5 of normal body weight. The size of the heart would usually approximate the fifth of the individual. So females usually have weight, heart weight of 250 to 320, while males would be 300 to 360. And the thickness of the right and left ventricle would be ranging from 0.3 to 0.5 and 1.3 to 1.5 respectively. Meaning, if the thickness of the right ventricle is about 1 centimeter or the left ventricle is 2 centimeter, then that means hypertrophy. So when I say hypertrophy, there's increase in the weight of the organ or the thickness of the ventricle. And in some instances, there could be an associated enlargement of the chamber size, and we call that dilation. So that in situation wherein there would be increased size and or weight of the heart, we call that cardiomegaly. Okay. So we all know that the heart is composed primarily of the cardiac myocytes, representing 90% of the volume of the heart, made up of the functional intracellular contractile unit, the sarcomere, that contains the thin, actin, and thick myosin, okay, yung parang darker na component, with attached troponin and tropomyosin protein. And within some of these atrial cells in the myocardium, they contain these electron-dense granules, like, for example, your atrial natriuretic peptide. This has a very important function, particularly in patients who are suffering of hypertension or suffering of congestive heart failure, by causing vasodilation, thereby decreasing the blood pressure among hypertensive patients, or eliminating sodium and water through natriuresis and diuresis in the kidney, thereby relieving the congestion in the heart. And of course, the intercalated discs that contains gut junction are very important for the facilitation of the synchronous contraction of the myocyte, meaning it would allow the cardiac myocyte in the atrium to contract before the ventricles. In situations where there would be destruction of some of these cup junctions, it could lead to abnormal distribution leading to arrhythmia and or heart failure. If you still remember, this is the normal histology of the heart, showing as the slated muscles with the nucleus at the center or at the periphery. Another structure that would be seen in the heart would be the valve. The valves are actually very important to maintain a unidirectional blood flow of blood, and they represent this parang gates that would actually serve to prevent backflow of blood. So there are two types, semilunar and the AV valves. The semilunar valves contain cusp, and the AV valves contain leaflets. So the integrity of these valves particularly would be very important, because when the structures, they are actually destroyed, or when the structures are altered, then it's not able to open or close properly. Okay, so it will lead to either stenosis or regurgitation. And of course, in the AV valves, it's also very important, the attachment to the papillary muscles. And microscopically, it has four layers. The outermost lining will be the endothelial covering, is the lining epithelium, and inside you have your dense and your central collagenous core, and the elastin component in the atrium or in the ventricles called atrialis or ventricularis. And also within this stroma, it may contain interstitial cells that will synthesize your extracellular matrix or matrix metalloproteins that are very important for repair process. So this is just a picture, gross picture of the normal aortic and the AV valves, the mitral valve. So we can see here yung parang cup shape, okay, na structure. These are the cusp of the AV, the aortic valve. And as you can see here, it's a thin structure and it's usually pliable and translucent without any nodulation. And in here, the AV valve, like the mitral valves, you can see the cord tendinae attached to the papillary muscle and the leaflet. Okay, here. So the valves may also show pathologic changes that may lead to either weakening of the leaflets, like in mitral valve prolapse leading to bleeding, or calcifications leading to formation of impediment of normal opening. So, like in calcific aortic stenosis among elderly individuals, or it may be caused by fibrosis because of the chronic inflammation or inflammatory immune response in rheumatic heart disease. For the heart to properly pump blood in a synchronous manner, then there should be the presence of a system that would generate as well as moderate the beating of the heart. Okay, so these are composed of your excitatory and conducting myocytes that would be able to regulate the rate and rhythm of the cardiac contraction. This includes your SA node. Is located at the junction of the aortic appendage and vena cava. The SA node has a higher depolarization in comparison with the AV node at a 60 to 100 per minute. So it would serve as the pacemaker. While the AV node located at atrium along the atrial septum has a lower depolarization, thereby uh, um, thereby serving as a gatekeeper. Okay, so parang minomodulate niya yung passage ng electrical impulses that are generated by the ST node. And this would be passing to the bundle fist and to the right and left bundle branches. This is actually the Purkinje network that would stimulate the respective right and left bundle. Of course, the autonomous nervous system does not only just control the rate firing of the SI node, but also trigger the start of the cardiac cycle. And in situations wherein you perform heavy work or exercise or you run, then the autonomic nervous system is stimulated, increasing the heart rate to double the normal just within seconds because of the increase in oxygen demand. For the blood supply, we all know that the heart is supplied by three major epicardial coronary arteries. On the left, under the membrane, the left circumflex, and the right coronary. So by heart, dapat alam nyo kung ano nagsusupply, anong part ng heart. Okay? So the apex, the wall of the left ventricle, if a person would age, okay, maybe elderly, what would be the changes? Of course, the mass would decrease. There would be more epicardial fat being built. The aorta would be shifting to the right, the tortus. There would be calcifications, and there would be atrophy. So meaning there would be smaller and fewer myocytes with leukocyte pigments within the perinuclear area. And sometimes this trauma shows the position of amyloid and collagenized collective tissue trauma. So now we go with the pathology of the heart. That's for the introduction, anatomy, histology, physiology. So any heart impairment would fall under the six principal mechanisms. First, pump failure, meaning the heart is not able to actually perform its function to pump blood to different parts of the body. Like in a patient who suffered of a massive myocardial infarction, so there would be left ventricular failure, so it leads to a pump failure. Obstruction to flow, so sabihin natin merong coarctation of the aorta, there's narrowing of the lumen of the aorta, thereby causing obstruction. Regurgitant flow, the aortic valve, for example, is insufficient. When it closes, then some of the blood in the aorta could go back onto the left ventricle, causing regurgitation. Stunted flow, like a VSD, or that could involve a heart or the blood vessel in PDA. Disorders of cardiac conduction, okay, so these are usually the form of arrhythmia, either in the form of your fibrillation or asystole, rupture of the heart or major vessels, which could be spontaneous, the complication of MI or secondary to aortic dissection, or it could be secondary to trauma, like in gunshot wound or in even a stab wound. So first, we'll discuss heart failure. So sa sinabi mong heart failure, yung pasyente nag-suffer ng heart failure, ano ibig sabihin nun? Okay. So when I say heart failure, we're talking about congestive heart failure. So yung kanyang function to pump blood relation to its need of the body, okay, is not met. So there's an ability to pump blood in relation to need. And most of the time, decompensated state na yung heart. So it's usually preceded by cardiac hypertrophy. So normally, the heart is able to maintain arterial vessel perfusion through the following physiologic functions. Sterling mechanism, if a greater worse stress to the ventricles would cause a greater pressure to push blood into the circulation. Myocardial adaptations in the form of hypertrophy and activation of neurohumoral system through your RAS. Okay, so first, hypertrophy. When I say hypertrophy, as I said a while ago, this increase in the size of the individual myofibers that would increase the weight of the heart. So what are the triggers? Could be increased mechanical workload. Okay, so this could be either a stressor like in hypertension or volume overload and you have regurgitation or toxic signals in the presence of the beta adrenergic receptor stimulation. What happens to the heart muscles? Okay, there would be increased protein synthesis at the molecular level with more mitochondria, bigger mitochondria, and even the nuclei would show enlargement, leading to a boxcar nuclei. Look at this picture of a normal heart muscle. It's nucleus. Comparing it with a hypertrophied heart muscle with the nucleus. So hindi ito low power, saka high power. Para silang low power. You can just see the increased diameter, the thickness of the diameter of the individual myofiber here. A triple nung diameter ng normal na myofiber. Even the nucleus, you can see, it's threefold to quadruple the nuclei of the normal myofiber. So hypertrophied yan. Again here, grossly. Okay? So pressure overload could create your concentric hypertrophy, while volume overload could cause your dilated hypertrophy. This is my right side dilated, left side is concentric. And a higher magnification of the picture is the concentric left ventricular hypertrophy. In which the ventricular cavity is very small. So what happens in the heart when there's hypertrophy? Okay? Nag-increase yung diameter ng individual myofibers, nag-critically yung left ventricle, pero walang coexistent increase in the number of your capillary vessels. So kulang yung blood supply. Okay? Kulang yung nutritional supply. And because of that, some of them would suffer of ischemic injury leading now to interstitial fibrosis. At the molecular level, they'll be shifting to your immediate early genes or fetal gene expression pattern. And of course, for these functional changes, there would be heightened metabolic demand, thereby, as I said a while ago, there would be the heart muscle would be vulnerable to ischemia related decompensation that may lead to heart failure. So in heart failure, this results from either systolic or diastolic dysfunction. Systolic, sabi natin, hindi makapag-push ng blood, contractile dysfunction, because of the progressive deterioration of this function. Then diastolic dysfunction, ito naman, hindi nakapag-fill in sufficiently. Bakit? Kasi there's an ability of the heart chamber to expand, okay, during the process of filling. So in heart failure, congestive heart failure, it is characterized by either forward failure and backward failure. Okay? So even though they could occur independently, both may lead to a global heart failure. So mas madalas, left-sided before magkaroon ng right-sided, maging global heart failure. So first, we'll discuss left-sided heart failure. Anong causes? Ischemic heart disease. Siyempre, kapag kulang yung blood supply, okay? Nagkakaroon ng ischemic injury. So, nagkakaroon ng heart failure. Hypertension. So, hypertension, karoon ng hypertrophy. Kapag na-decompensate sa hypertrophy, heart failure. Aortic mitral valve diseases, ganun din. And primary and ischemic myocardial diseases. So, ano itsura ng heart morphologically? It depends on the disease process. But most of the time, the left ventricle is hypertrophied and sometimes dilated. Okay? So, ano pa pwede maapektuhan kapag nagkaroon ka ng left-sided heart failure? Okay? So, kapag left-sided heart failure, yung blood na nasa left ventricle, magdadump back papunta ng left atrium. Left atrium to the pulmonary vein into the lungs, magkakaroon ka ng pulmonary congestion and edema. Okay? So, the kidneys and the brain would also be affected. So, first, punta tayo sa lungs. So, sabi ko nga, there would be pulmonary congestion and edema due to transudation. Okay, initially perivascular, then subsequently interstitial, leading to widening of the alveolar septa because of edema fluid. And some of this edema fluid could go into the alveolar spaces. Kaya nakikita natin microscopically, merong aqueous homogeneous substance filling up the alveolar septa and the alveolar spaces. In severe cases, there could be capillary rupture, and there would be microhemorrhages. These red cells would be eaten up by the macrophages in the lungs, the alveolar macrophages, leading to the formation of your heart failure cells. So, heart failure cells, nakikita sa lungs, hindi sa heart. Okay? So, ano magiging clinical manifestation? Anong magiging complaint ng pasyente? Kapag may fluid dun sa alveoli, siyempre, gusto ba ilabas? So, magpapresent siya with cough. And this fluid would impede the normal exchange of gases. So, mahirapan ko huminga. Magkakaroon ng dyspnea. Sa gabi, okay, pag humiga, feeling nalulunod. There's actually paroxysmal nocturnal dyspnea. Kaya ang ginagawa, naglalagay ng tatlong unan para mapahinga na maayos. So, pillow or niya, tawag natin doon. So, yung feeling na nalulunod is actually because of the pulmonary edema in patients with chronic left-sided heart failure. Okay. So, ano pa pwede maapektuhan? Of course, the kidneys and the brain are the two organs that would receive the majority of your cardiac output. So that if there would be reduction in your ejection fraction of the heart, then definitely there would be decreased renal perfusion. So the kidneys would sense na kulang yung nare-receive ng blood. Kasi ang renal blood flow mo, mababa. So ang gagawin niya, increase niya yung renal blood flow. Paano? Okay, by salt and water retention. By activating your renin, angiotensin, aldosterone system. The problem is salt and water retention would increase the fluid in the circulation, thereby aggravating the pulmonary edema now. Kasi yung unang tinamaan yun, lasa. And because of decreased renal blood flow, renal perfusion, magkakaroon ka ng decreased excretion of your creatinine and BUN. Okay? So, mangyayari, magkakaroon ka ng azotemia, and we call that condition pre-renal azotemia. And also the brain, sabi natin kanina, mababa ang cerebral blood flow. Okay? So, kapag nagkaroon ng decreased cerebral blood flow because of the decreased cardiac output and rejection fraction, cerebral hypoxia mangyayari leading to hypoxic encephalopathy. Anong manifestation? Pwedeng irritability, pwedeng restlessness. In severe cases, pwedeng alteration in consciousness like sleep or unconscious. So clinically, left-side heart failure is subdivided into systolic and diastolic. Yan nga sinasabi natin na insufficient cardiac output or cardiac output is preserved, but the left ventricle is stiff, hindi siya makapag-relapse during diastole. So, kulang kapag nag-increase yung demand. Okay? So, kasi wala siyang capability para mag-dilate, para ma-fill in na mas maraming blood yung left ventricle. Now, we go to right-sided heart failure. So, sabi ko kanina, mas commonly, ang right-sided heart failure is secondary consequence of the left-sided. Pero, pwedeng mag-occur siya as a pure right-sided heart failure. Anong condition? In the patient suffering severe pulmonary hypertension with interstitial fibrosis, pwede ka mag-develop ng chronic severe pulmonary hypertension, leading to hypertrophy and dilation of the right side of the heart, and we call that core pulmonale. So, the morphology is the heart. It depends on the cause again. Pwede magkaroon ng hypertrophy and dilation, pero hindi sa left ventricle kasi most of the time, pwede siyang isolated. Okay? So, yung right atrium lang sa right ventricle yung affected. How about sa lung? Okay? Sa lung, less. Okay? Unlike in left-sided. Kapag pure right-sided heart failure, ang makikita natin extra cardiac effect, more prominent sa liver yan and the other organs. Okay? Like the pleural spaces sa subcutaneous tissue. So, ano mangyari sa liver? Sa portosis lang. Remember natin, right ventricular hypertrophy, right atrial hypertrophy, kapag mag-fail yung right side na yan, nakakonect inferior vena cava dun sa liver, so tatamaan ng liver. Nagkakaroon ka ng congestive hepatomegaly because of the chronic passive congestion of the liver. So, mangyayari, yung central vein, magkakaroon ng necrosis. Kaya, meron tinatawag tayong centrilobular necrosis. Grossly, para mamumuti yun. Surrounding area, mapula, kasi may hemorrhages. That would resemble that of the cut surface or cut section of a nutmeg, yung nga. Kapag pinutol mo yung nga sa gitna, yung bandang gitna na maputi, yung paligid, mapula. So, yun ang gross picture ng centrilobular necrosis. Bakit yung area ng around yung central vein or terminal hepatic vein yun ang nag-undergo ng necrosis? Kasi it only contains your terminal hepatic vein or central vein. Wala dong artery. Unlike in the portal side, merong hepatic artery doon, mayroong kang vein. Okay? Merong pang hepatic vein doon. At saka nandun yung bile duct kasama sa portal triad. Subsequently, in these areas of necrosis, magka-undergo yan na fibrosis leading to thickening. We call that cardiac sclerosis or cardiac cirrhosis. Again, cardiac sclerosis and cardiac cirrhosis are not seen in the heart but rather in the liver. Katulad kanina, heart failure cells are not seen in the heart but rather in the lungs. Okay? Remember yung connections ng blood supply natin. Spleen, mag-drain siya sa portal vein. So kapag meron kang chronic passive congestion, mataas ng pressure ng portal vein, magbabakto yan, magkakaroon ka ng congested spleen naman. Kidney stain pa rin yan. So, azotemia pa rin siya. May fluid retention because of the activation of RAS, peripheral edema. Same pa rin sa brain, hypoxic encephalopathy because of decreased cerebral blood flow. Ang madadagdag dito would be pleural and the other effusion. Okay, pericardial, peritoneal. Pag peritoneal, tawag natin doon ay ascites. Sa pleural cavity, it may bring about compression of the lung leading to atelectasis. But more importantly, ano yung hallmark ng right-sided heart failure? Okay, whether it's a primary, isolated, or a complication of the left-sided heart failure, there would be development of your peripheral edema in the form of either ankle or pedal and by pre-pedal edema. So kapag nakita kayo ng pamamanas sa paa, paakyat dun sa sakong, paakyat dito sa may legs, varying intensity. So kapag dun sa paa pa lang, mababa yon. Okay, konti lang. Pero kapag umakyat sa sakong, papunta ng legs, kapag pinindot mo, may edema doon, varying severity na yan kapag paakyat siya. In some instances, hindi lang sa paa, yung merong manas, buong katawan, pati yung braso namamanas. We call that condition anasarca. Okay? Ibig sabihin, bumibigay na talaga yung puso ng pasyente na to. At affected na pati atay at pati kidney. So global yung affection na. So many patients present with your ventricular congestive heart failure with symptoms of both right and left-sided heart failure, particularly mga nagpipresent with anasarca. Okay? Questions offer for the heart failure. Okay, so now we'll go with congenital heart diseases. So, congenital diseases, hindi siya ganun ka-common sa ibang organs. But in the heart, medyo common to. So it usually occurs as a faulty embryogenesis during gestational weeks 3 to 8. Kaya sabi nila, napakadelikado sa isang buntis sa unang sa unang trimester ng pregnancy. So first trimester would be first to the third month. Kasi doon nabubuo yung puso. Okay? Doon nagde-develop yung puso. So after the third month, kapag nasa fifth month, na-expose ka sa, sabihin natin, rubella infection, hindi na maapektuhan yung heart kasi na-develop na yung heart. Okay na siya. Hindi na maapektuhan yan. So the most common heart disease in children would be your congenital heart disease. In comparison to adults, kung matatanda, may ischemic heart disease like atherosclerotic coronary artery disease. Okay, sa mga bata, this is the congenital heart disease. And among these congenital heart disease, the ventricular septal defect is the most common. May butas yung pagitan ng left at right ventricle. Anong causes? At paano na nangyayari? Okay? So, majority of these conditions are actually sporadic genetic abnormalities. Hindi natin alam kung alin doon. Napakarami mga genetic abnormalities. But it could be multifactorial genetic factors. Okay? So, primarily, Down syndrome in trisomy 21 or Down syndrome, ito yung nakita nila na mas common genetic cause associated with congenital heart disease. And they found out that among patients with trisomy 21 or Down syndrome, about 40% would have one or more congenital heart disease. Ganun kataas. Environmental factor. Ito yung pumapasok yung infection, anti-rubella infection. Pero first trimester dapat yan. Exposure to teratogens ng pregnant women and gestational diabetes. Of course, nutritional factors, sa nanay pa rin to, folate deficiency. Kaya nga, nagbibigay ng folate supplementation sa mga buntis para hindi lang ma-prevent yung possibility na mag-develop ng congenital heart disease, kundi ma-prevent yung development ng neural tube defect sa brain namin. So, folate deficiency could affect both development of the heart and the brain. And of course, maternal factors, yung age, very important yan. Kapag first pregnancy at the age of 40, the risk of having a baby with trisomy 21 or Down syndrome is higher compared kapag 20 years old yung nanay. Okay? Kaya sabi nila, kapag 35 years old daw yung mother, first pregnancy, high risk pregnancy na siya because of possible development of your congenital heart disease. Kasi ito yung mga different affected genes. Napakarami yan. Ito lang yung nakalista dun sa inyong book. Okay? So, fibrillin, particularly in patients with Marfan's, yung mga GATA4, TBX, okay, and NUTS2. This is just some of the examples. So, they're categorized into three major types. Left to right, something left to right, late cyanotic, right to left, early cyanotic, and obstruction type. So, punta tayo sa left to right shunt. Sa left to right shunt, with cyanotic heart disease, pagkapanganak, hindi yan nangingitim. Okay, hindi yan nangingitim. Kapag umiyak, pwede mangitim, pero hindi sila generally nangingitim. Pero subsequently, pag naging adult yan, magkakaroon ng reversal ng flow, like in chronic atrial septal defect, at magkakaroon ng cyanosis. Okay? So, anong mangyayari? Bakit nagkakaroon ng Eisenmenger syndrome? So, syempre, magkakaroon ng shifting ng blood from the left side to the right, so mas marami na ngayon blood sa right. Okay? So, pupunta yan ng pulmonary circulation. So, subsequently, i-protect ng lungs yung lung itself para hindi siya madamage. So, magkakaroon siya ng parang ng situation na mataas yung pressure. So, magkakaroon ng pulmonary hypertension. So, si right side ng heart, right ventricle, mag-hypertrophy. Eh, wala na ibang pupuntahan yung blood kasi wala namang dadaanan. Hindi siya makapunta pabalik dun sa ating inferior superior vena cava. Okay? So, ang mangyayari, from the right, pupunta sa left side ng heart yung ating dugo. Okay? That's a reversal of shunt leading to procedure. So, these are the examples. So, first, we have the atrial septal defect. So, abnormal opening sa atrial septum. Symptomatic sila until the age of 30. The condom is the most common type. Okay, so usually not associated with other anomalies kapag si condom type. Ayan, picture, grossly, may butas dun sa atrium, or yung sa may atrial septum. Yung maliit na butas, kapag tumanda, naging 30 years old na yan, nagkaroon ng reversal ng shunt flow, lumalaki. Kaya kailangan i-repair by that time sa Eisenmenger complex. So, pagdating ng 30, okay, pwede nang mag-present with profound congestive heart failure, pero before 30, they usually symptomatic. Siyempre may murmur, okay, because of that flow of blood from the right atrium to the left atrium, okay, or from left atrium to the right atrium initially. And of course, there would be volume hypertrophy, and there would be a necessity for surgical closure kasi kung hindi, pwede magkaroon ng problema. Then we have the VSD. Okay, ito naman, ventricular septum, may buta. It's considered to be the most common congenital cardiac anomaly and associated with other defects. And then three types, membranous, the most common, but the small muscular VSD could actually close subsequently. We call them the cystic septum. Okay. So, naghihintay usually in 1 year old before surgical correction is done, okay, for large defect. Kasi yung mga nasa membranous sa infundibulary, usually hindi nagko-close. Lahat ka lang 1 year old. Kasi kapag panganak ka lang, ang liit ng heart. At the same time, kapag nirepair mo, kapag less than 1 year old, palalakihan niya yung nirepair mo, magiging problema pa rin after that. Third would be PDA, or patent ductus arteriosus, or persistent ductus arteriosus. So normally, upon birth, nagko-close yung vessel na to, yung ductus arteriosus na nagko-connect na aorta sa pulmonary artery. Okay? In 90% of cases isolated, but it could be associated with other anomalies. Okay? Like in coarctation of the aorta or pulmonary stenosis or aortic stenosis. So yung flow ng blood from the aorta to the ductus into the pulmonary artery creates a murmur. Tinatawag nilang harsh machinery-like murmur. So in patients with coarctation or pulmonary or stenosis, you want to preserve the ductal patency. So mag-inject ka na prostaglandin E para mag-serve siya as a shunt to actually cause the patient, okay, to leave. Meron din yan tinatawag na AV septal defect. So ito, dalawa yung present. Hindi lang atrial septal defect. Pero hindi rin siya ventricular. Parehas meron. Could be partial or complete. Kapag partial, separate na dalawa. Kapag complete, buong buo. Walang septal, wala yung septum na nagsa-separate sa right sa left side. And in these cases, nakikita madalas associated with Down syndrome or trisomy 21, yung 1/3 of cases. Pero kailangan mo talagang surgical repair. So itong picture na to, dalawang PV septal defect. Separate niya atrial and ventricular septal defect. Separate siya. Then PFO, hindi ka nang kaproblema. Just small hole from the atrial septum of the oval fossa. Ito yan. Hindi siya ganun ka-problematic. Now we go to your right to left shunt. Right to left. Right, unoxygenated blood. Mixing with oxygenated blood. Kaya cyanotic siya. May cyanosis ka agad. Paradoxical embolism kasi yung blood na supposed to be ma-filter through the lungs, it goes to the lungs for oxygenation. Hindi lang siya filter. Diretso na siya sa left side ng heart. Okay? So since may cyanosis, magkaroon siya ng clubbing ng fingers sa toes because of hypoxic injury, and the kidney would secrete more of your erythropoietin, thereby stimulating the bone marrow, leading to increased red cell production, WBC, and platelet production, we call it polycythemia. An example, for a letter T, okay? So, alam mo na kagad na right to left kapag letter T starts. So, first, tetralogy. From the word tetralogy of allot, it has four components, and it is a result of embryological intestinal displacement of the infundibular septum. So kapag nagkaroon ng displacement, yung infundibular septum, nagde-develop ka ng subpulmonic or pulmonary stenosis. Okay? So ang main problem mo dito, because of that displacement ng infundibular septum, nagde-develop ka ng pulmonary or subpulmonic stenosis. So yun yung first na component mo. Obstruction to the right ventricular outflow tract in the form of either subpulmonary or pulmonary stenosis. So kapag obstruction yung blood flow from the right ventricle to the pulmonary circulation, saan pupunta yung blood? So dapat may dadaanan siya kasi hindi naman pwede bumalik dun sa right atrium. So dapat may VSD. So dun siya dadaan sa VSD. So from the right ventricle, yung blood pupasok siya ng ventricular septal defect, pupunta ng left ventricle. Pero mataas ang pressure sa left ventricle compared with the right ventricle. So paano niya ma-overcome to? Dapat mag-undergo muna ng right ventricular hypertrophy para ma-push yung blood from the right ventricle to the left ventricle. So ngayon, may right ventricular hypertrophy na. Yung dugo, may pupush muna from the right ventricle through the VSD into the left ventricle. Okay? So saan pupunta na next? Doon sa aorta. Okay? Sa aorta, is situated just above the VSD. Okay? The aorta that covers the VSD. So if you remember this physiology or pathology, hindi mo makakalimutan yung four components. So, ito yung picture. Ito yung pulmonary stenosis. Yan. Ito yung right ventricular hypertrophy. Ito yung VSD. So from the right atrium blood, punta siya ng right ventricle, hindi siya makadaan, then sa pulmonary artery kasi may stenosis or konting-konti lang nakakadaan. Para mai-push niya, papunta sa left ventricle, kailangan mag-undergo ng hypertrophy, kapag nandun na yung blood, then ito na yung aorta, just above ng VSD. Okay, it overrides the VSD. Okay, then pupunta yung dugo na unoxygenated or mixed with oxygenated blood konti. Kaya cyanotic siya. Okay? And again, microscopically, and again, should I say, physiologically, kapag yung stenosis is mild only, walang cyanosis, kaya tinatawag natin pink tetralogy. Pero kapag severe stenosis, dito yung tinatawag natin classic tetralogy. Both shaped heart on chest X-ray is contributed primarily by the right ventricular hypertrophy. Okay, not the subpulmonary stenosis. Then we go with transposition of great artery. From the word transposition, okay, another great artery, pulmonary artery, saka aorta, yung dalawang great arteries. So there is discordance of these two arterial supply coming from the right and the left ventricle. So normally, ang aorta, left ventricle. Pulmonary artery, right ventricle. Nagkabaliktad. So aorta, nasa right ventricle. Nanggagaling, pulmonary artery din sa left ventricle. So abnormal formation and truncal and aortopulmonary system without a shunt, then this is incompatible with postnatal life. So hindi siya mabubuhay pagkasilang kapag wala siyang shunt na associated ang PGA. So anong shunt ang meron dapat? Okay, dalawa. Stable shunt, VSD, PDA, and foramen ovale, unstable shunt. Yung sinasabi kanina, PDA, kung gusto mong i-preserve yung patency, mag-inject ka ng prostaglandin. Kasi kung wala kang VSD, PDA lang meron, para masave mo yung patient before maoperahan, then i-preserve mo yung PDA. Kasi kung hindi mo gagawin yon, mamamatay pasyente mo. Okay? So mamamatay sila within the first 3 months, first month, should I say, without intervention. Kailangan mo ng surgical intervention. So ito picture niyan. Aorta, right ventricle, pulmonary artery, left ventricle. So kapag meron kang VSD dito, okay lang. Kasi yung blood na nagagaling ng left ventricle na oxygenated, pupunta siya ng right ventricle, akit siya ng aorta. Oxygenated blood pa rin yung lalabas. Persistent truncus. From the word persistent truncus arteriosus, yung pulmonary, yung, yung main vessel, gitna. Okay? Did not separate to the pulmonary artery and aorta. So, there's a single great artery at the middle. Ito yung picture. Ito yung main trunk. Pulmonary artery, aorta. Sa ilalim, isang artery, single artery siya, single origin. Tricuspid atresia, from the word atresia, is a complete occlusion of the tricuspid valve. So, walang connection sa ventricle, particularly. And this could be associated with right ventricular hyperplasia. Okay? So, mas makitahin, it could be a DSD or ESD para mabuhay yung pasyente na to. And without this associated congenital heart disease, patient could die. This is a high early mortality. Then lastly, of the cyanotic heart disease is your total and muscular venous connection. So normally, pulmonary vein should go back to the left atrium. Okay, pero hindi nangyari yun. Hindi siya connected to sa left atrium, yung pulmonary vein. Okay? Or it could be associated failure of development o atresia of the pulmonary vein. Okay? So, katulad nito, pulmonary vein, babalik siya ng left atrium, bumalik siya sa superior vena cava. Okay? So, anomalous yung kanyang venous return. Then we got obstruction. Obstruction like coarctation, pulmonary aortic stenosis, and atresia. First, coarctation. When we coarctation, there's just narrowing or constriction in part of the aorta. This could be seen in both sexes, but males are more commonly affected, particularly frequently seen in patients with Turner syndrome, the two forms, infantile and your adult type. Ito yung aorta natin. Okay? Merong constriction dito. Coarctation tawag natin yan. Okay, so sa lumen, yan, makipot yung daanan. Makipot. So ano may clinical manifestation? It depends if this there would be associated PDA or without the PDA. So kapag with PDA, may lower body diagnosis. Without the PDA, patients would be presenting with hypertension in the upper extremity, but low BP or weak pulses in the lower extremity. And there would be development of tributaries, okay, parang connections, like your internal mammary vessel would be nagde-develop yun. Okay? Doon sa ilalim ng ribs, naging prominent yun. And may cause notchings or erosions in the rib undersurfaces. It should be noted by X-ray. Okay, so this is a gross picture of coarctation. Again, here, the constriction or narrowing of coarctation. So kapag dumaan yung dugo dun sa part na yun, dun sa narrowed portion na yun, mag-create siya ng parang murmur. Okay, so systolic kasi nag-push ka ng blood from the ventricle to the aorta. So systolic murmur siya. Sometimes yung trill, yung parang jet na pasok ng dugo sa area na yun. So, create a trill. atherosclerosis that would cause obstruction to the coronary artery, okay, at varying degrees. So kapag pasyente, hypertensive, diabetic, cigarette smoker, may hypercholesterolemia, etc., okay, chances for atherosclerosis is higher compared to normal individuals. It's associated with four syndromes: angina, myocardial infarction, CIED, and sudden cardiac death. So, ano nangyayari sa ischemic heart disease? So, ang nangyayari dahil merong bara doon, kapag nangailangan ng supply, kinukulang, insufficient yung coronary perfusion relative to the demand because of the atherosclerosis. Okay? So, nangyayari, hindi na atherosclerosis, nag-undergo minsan ng acute plaque change, such as erosion, plaque rupture, or plaque fissuring. Eh, kapag na-expose siya sa endothelial collagen because of the plaque change, magde-develop ka ng thrombosis. And it's usually associated also with vasospasm, so magko-constrict yun. It would aggravate the narrowing of the vessel lumen. In a patient with chronic coronary sclerosis with 70% degree obstruction, um, sometimes kapag walang exercise or walang work, okay pa sila. Pero kapag gumawa na konti, nag-present na sila ng symptoms. Okay? Or nag-exercise, nagsisymptomatic na sila. Matagdag symptomatic ischemia, exercise and low. But in patients with obstruction of the coronary of 90% or more, even at rest, walang ginagawa, nahihirapan yan, parang mabigat ang dibdib. Okay? Symptomatic. But then sabi ko kanina, no? Acute plaque change usually followed by initially vasoconstriction, further causing narrowing of the lumen, inflammation, with activation of the coagulation system, leading to thrombosis. Okay. And of course, myocardial ischemia, it may lead to either angina or MI or sometimes death. The first, angina. Ano yung angina? Okay, so angina pectoris from the word angina pectoris. So there's actually a discomfort. It's usually paroxysmal and recurrent, located in the substernal and precordial area as a symptom complex of your ischemic heart disease. It is usually transient. So, seconds lang minsan so tagal siya ng 3 minutes, 5 minutes, depending on the severity. So, tatlong pattern yan: stable, unstable, and neoprene metal. So, mas common is still be stable, typical angina. So, ito, sabi naman nagagawa ka, okay naman, trabaho ka, then may bara dun sa coronary mo. Hindi ganun ka-significant. Pero since pagod ka na, nagkaroon ng symptoms, okay? Nag-present siya na parang merong mabigat sa dibdib, localized pressure, poorly localized pressure, squeezing, burning sensation. Nagpahinga ka, nawala. Or uminom ka ng vasodilator, touching ka ng blocker, nawala. We call that stable angina. Even though it's uncommon, pre-metal angina could occur. Okay? And usually, wala kang ginagawa, stress, pero parang mabigat sa dibdib. It's due to coronary artery spasm, which could be seen on ECG as elevated ST segment. At kapag uminom ka ng calcium channel blocker or any form of vasodilator like nitroglycerin, nawawala. Ang problem is when you are suffering of unstable crescendo angina. So ito, paulit-ulit pa rin siya, pero increasing yung frequency, tapos yung time na nawawala, mas matagal na siya, chronic pain. Hindi na siya discomfort. So it occurs even at rest or at lower level of physical activity. Kung dati, 15 seconds, naging 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Ngayon, hindi na 15 minutes na. More than 20 minutes na minsan, 25 minutes. Pero hindi naman umabot ng 30 minutes. Kasi kapag umabot ng 30 minutes, then that's already your MI. So, anong cause? First, sabi natin kanina, disruption ng plaque. Sclerotic plaque with thrombosis. With or without your vasospasm. So kapag more than 30 minutes, masakit dibdib, hindi nawawala. Then we label that as a heart attack or myocardial infarction. This is prolonged severe ischemia. This could seen in any person at any age, so even 20 years old, pwede na mag-MI, particularly mga cigarette smoker, diabetic, obese, which is our high risk for atherosclerosis. So ang major underlying cause will still be your atherosclerosis, causing IH2. Women in the reproductive age group are protected because of estrogen, but post-menopause, they will be accelerated coronary artery disease. That's why the most common cause of death among older women is still be ischemic heart disease. So, pantay na lang kapag menopausal. So, ano nangyayari sa myocardial infarction and kakasipuso? Palagi mayroong bara. Palagi mayroong bara. Coronary artery occlusion physical. So, palaging may acute plaque erosion, rupture, or fissuring, etc. associated with thrombosis. And of course, there would be vasospasm. The exposure of the subendothelial collagen would uh, invite platelet to adhere in that area. And when the inflammation is activated, there would be thrombus formation, increasing thrombus block until there is complete occlusion of the lumen, leading to myocardial infarction. But in 10% of cases, there is no typical coronary pathology could be demonstrated. So ano pwede maging cause? Could be vasospasm with or without coronary sclerosis, or the emboli could be lyse, okay, or the ischemia occurred without significant coronary atherosclerosis. Sabihin natin, 20% coronary atherosclerosis na siya, pero nagadago pa rin na MI. So remember that when the blood flow in the heart, the coronaries, is less than 10% or less for a span of 20 to 40 minutes, yung portion affected would undergo cell death. Okay? So initially, ang tamaan yan is subendocardial zone kasi epicardial coronary. Sa epicardium, yung pericardium, hindi mo natatamaan yan. Pero kapag umabot na ng 6 oras, hindi pa rin na-restore yung blood flow, pwede maging transmural. Okay? So, most of your transmural, usually full or near full thickness of the ventricle would be thin. Okay? Yung necrosis. About 6 hours. And usually, there is a associated chronic atherosclerosis of the coronary vessel with acute plaque change and thrombosis as said well. And we call this condition for transmural ST segment elevation infarct or STEMI infarct. In comparison, those that show only subendocardial, only a portion of the ventricle where it's affected, half or 1/3 of it, which could be associated with plaque disruption, thrombus formation, lysis, early lysis, or in patients who have a global hypoperfusion like prolonged hypotension. Okay, mag-undergo sila ng subendocardial infarct circumferential most of the time. And we call them your non-ST elevation infarct, non-STEMI, non-STEMI. In some situation, you may see small multifocal infarctions. Okay, and this could be seen associated with microembolism, microembolization, or vasculitis, or it could be associated with spasm in patients or are taking drugs. Like for example, a patient took cocaine or ephedrine. Okay? It would cause vasospasm, significant vasospasm, and cause multifocal microinfarction. Mga party drugs. Okay? Nagkakos siya ng vasospasm. So if you remember one incident, New Year yun, di ba? Isang nag-party-party sila sa Makati. Namatay yung isang kasamaan nila. Okay, so it could be still alcohol, but pwede ring party drugs that may have caused the vasospasm leading to myocardial infarction. So the type of necrosis in MI is coagulative necrosis, where there's preservation of the morphology outline of the myofibers, but the details is not visualized. Okay. And the area supplied by the different coronary vessels would dictate the frequencies of onset of infarction. So yung area supplied by the left anterior descending is still the most common, meaning left ventricular wall and the apex, followed by the right coronary and circumflex. So kapag ang pasyente tinakbo sa ER, namatay 3 hours after sumakit ang dibdib, pag inotopsy mo yan, hindi mo makikita yung gross lesion say less than 12 hours. Kung gusto mo makita, kung ilubog mo yung puso na i-cut mo, ilubog mo sa stain, tinatawag triphenyl calcium chloride, bumukhang pula yung portion na viable, tapos hindi magte-take na yung stain yung portion na infarcted. So, it would confirm there is myocardial infarction. Typically, yung coagulative necrosis na kita sa microscope is seen kapag umabot ng 6-12 hours post-MI. Okay? Microscopically, pwede ka makita ng mga wavy fibers sa periphery or myocytolysis sa margins na infarction. Pwede ka rin makita ng hemorrhages sa area ng infarction. So, grossly, ito yan. Ito yung sinasabi kanina. Triphenyl catechol chloride. Ito yung normal, viable portion. Ito yung dead na portion, shorted portion. So, ito, normal. Ito yung maputi, madilaw na portion, inverted portion yan. Sa mga portion na to, ito yung mga inverted portion. Microscopically, kita mo pa rin siya, muscle, pero nuclei nawawala na nagkaroon ng cariolysis or cardiorexis. Kasama ng neutrophils that refers to early kinakain yung necrotic with myofibers. Pagdating ng 7 to 14 days, may mga capillary vessels na dyan. So, granulation tissue steps in to repair the area of the infarction. So, granulation tissue formation 7 to 14 days. Hindi sa magkaroon ka ng peklat dun sa puso, sparring by 6 weeks. The problem with myocardial infarction, taling ka ng extension. Okay, so para malaman may extension. Kasi hindi parehas yung periphery. This is central zone. Okay, mas filled yung central zone compared with the periphery. So ang main goal in patients with myocardial infarction is to restore back to perfuse, which is done by thrombolysis, balloon angioplasty, or coronary artery bypass graft. Yung balloon angioplasty or percutaneous transluminal coronary artery angioplasty with stent placement, hindi pa nagagawa sa lahat ng centers or sa lahat ng hospital. Okay? Nagagawa lang yan kung merong setup ng hospital for angioplasty. Okay, like sa heart cancer or sa St. Luke's na National. Sa FE, meron na tayo. Okay, pwede lang gawin dyan ng angioplasty. Pero, hindi pa coronary artery bypass graft. Kasi wala tayong heart lung machine. This is a picture of your bypass graft that you know, subsequently nag-fail din siya. So the main goal is to perfuse the infarcted area. The problem is there could be an associated injury with reperfusion because one, there's a large amount of free radicals generated during the reperfusion coming from the leukocyte, okay, that goes with the blood with the damaged myofiber that has undergone dysfunction. So merong mga mitochondrial dysfunction sa mga myofibers adjacent to the area that may further cause reperfusion injury. So, paano dinadiagnose ang pasyente na inatakas ng puso? Paano malalaman? Okay, so, pag dumating sa emergency room, complain yan. Sakit ang dibdib, nangihina. Kapag pinusuhan mo, mabilis, mahina. Tapos, minsan butil-butil yung pawis. Okay, nang lalamig. Lalo na dyan, diaphoretic na yung pasyente. Nahihirapan huminga. Kasi hindi nakapag-function tama yung heart. Parang siya ng pump failure. Minsan sabi nila, parang nasusuka. Okay? So there's vigorous stimulation, nausea and vomiting. Minsan, parang parang sinisikmura, or referred pain, or masakit yung leeg, yung neck. Okay, referred pain. But not all patients who come in the emergency room would present with the usual symptoms. Okay, so about 25% of the elderly diabetic individual would present with only few or sometimes asymptomatic pa sila, nanghina lang. Okay, from the usual, tapos bumagsak, hypotensive na kapag ginala. Tapos nalaman niya diabetic na pala. So pag test nyo, ECG, oy, ST segment elevation. Okay? So MI, confirm mo, request ka ng troponin, CTMB, parehas na mataas. So ibig sabihin, myocardial infarction na talaga siya. Remember, CTMB is sensitive but not specific. So the more sensitive and specific test for MI would still be your troponin. Kaya nga ang troponin, hindi dapat nawawala yan sa laboratory. Okay? Dapat palagi present yan. Kasi paano mako-confirm ng cardiologist na MI ito kung wala tayong troponin. Okay? CRP, very important in predict the risk of MI. So yung mga monitor dyan, nagsi-CHF na predict the MI, nag-request tayo ng CRP. So ano magiging komplikasyon ng heart attack or MI? Okay. Contractile dysfunction. Kung malaking parte ng puso tinamaan, 40% for example of the left ventricle is damaged. This patient could die right away um, of, of cardiac failure. So magkakaroon ka ng cardiogenic shock, tawag natin doon. Okay. Cardiogenic shock kasi hindi siya makapag-pump. Kasi malaki masyado yung parte ng puso, yung left ventricle, na tinamaan. So hindi na siya makapag-contract. So tawag natin doon, cardiogenic shock. Even though mababa naman yan, mga 10% or less lang yan. Arrhythmia. So arrhythmia, irregularity in the cardiac rate and rhythm. Pwede magkaroon ng ventricular fibrillation or asystole. Ang problema dyan kapag ventricular fibrillation, asystole, pwedeng mamatay right away pasyente natin. Myocardial rupture is usually occurs at the third to the fifth day. Was in part, kasi babantayan mo yung possible na free rupture sa pasyente na una pa lang siya nagkaroon ng MI, babae, tapos walang hypertrophy sa kanyang heart. Kapag tinignan mo sa X-ray, walang hypertrophy, babae, first time niya, bantayan mo ang possibility ng free wall rupture that occurs at the third to the seventh day. Okay? Pericarditis usually second to the third day yan, nagde-develop. Pag-auscultate mo, may pericardium friction lab. Rarely, a severe form of pericarditis will develop weeks after na MI. Okay? So, tawag natin doon, Dressler syndrome. Extension, expansion, so yung sabihin, lumaki yung portion affected. In patients with subendocardial infarct, the risk for mural thrombus, kasi nagkaroon ng stasis would occur. So kapag mural thrombus na sa right ventricle, the problem is kapag na-detach, nag-embolize at bumara di sa pulmonary trunk. Okay, na pag bumara sa pulmonary trunk, nagkaroon ka ng pulmonary embolism coming from the right ventricle. Patay pasyente natin dyan. Ventricular aneurysm rarely ruptures, but sometimes they rupture. Capillary muscle dysfunction. Kapag tinamaan yung subendocardium portion ng papillary muscle nandun, naka-attach, nag-infarct. So kapag nag-protect yung portion attachment ng papillary muscle, biglang bibigay. Pag bumigay yan, biglang magka-undergo siya mag-present siya with acute regurgitation, mitral regurgitation. Kapag initially walang mitral regurgitation or wala kang murmur na narinig corresponding to the area of the mitral valve, then mga 3 days after may narinig ka, tapos bumabagsak na yung blood pressure ng pasyente, then baka meron papillary muscle dysfunction or papillary muscle rupture. At first, kapag wala yung mga yan, complication na yan, humigi naman yung pasyente, okay, pero meron pa rin siyang ibang symptoms. Pwede yung progressive heart failure. Okay, so these are examples pictures of free wall rupture yan. Nabutas, aneurysm, nag-dilate, pero okay pa yung wall, intact pa naman. Ito, fresh na rupture. Yan, kitang-kita yan. So, yan, rupture. Ito, subendocardial infarct. Okay, na mayroong mural thrombus. It is aneurysm. Ito yung papillary muscle rupture. Yung chordae tendineae nakat sa papillary muscle, nag-rupture. So, yung chordae tendineae nakatat sa valve leaflets, bibigay. So, mag-undergo ka na regurgitation, insufficiency agad yan. So, the risk of any specific post-infarct complication, as we mentioned a while ago, would be, and the prognosis would be dependent on, of course, the infarct size, the location, and the thickness. So, kapag walang dilatation, sabi ko nga, o kapag walang hypertrophic, sabi ko nga, pwede mag-undergo ng rupture. And subsequently, ventricular remodeling could undergo. Okay. Now we go to ischemic heart diseases. So, when I say ischemic heart disease, sometimes called ischemic cardiomyopathy, madalas matatanda na to, okay, presenting with progressive heart failure due to ischemic myocardial damage. So, madalas, meron silang history ng MI or angina attack. And these patients represent 50% of patients for as a candidate for transplantation. So if you do perform an X-ray, the cardiomegaly, there's left ventricular hypertrophy and dilatation. You may note for stenosis of coronary arteries, atherosclerosis of the coronary. Then we have your arrhythmia. Kasi arrhythmia, sabi natin kanina, di ba? Arrhythmia, abnormalities in your cardiac conduction. Okay. It could be sustained or sporadic. Sa sporadic, paroxysmal lang siya. Pasulpot-sulpot. So anong cause ng arrhythmia? Okay. Still, ischemia. The ischemic injury is the most common cause of your rhythm disorders or your arrhythmia. So any form of ischemic injury would bring about your arrhythmia. Okay? So, example, sixth sinus syndrome. Kung sinabi yung sixth sinus syndrome, hindi functioning yung ating pacemaker, yung ating SA node. Okay? So, kapag hindi functional ang SA node, AV node magta-take charge, bradycardic ang pasyente mo. So, in the patient is bradycardic, ang form ng arrhythmia is bradycardia. Atrial fibrillation, I think parang mabilis, pero hindi siya nakapag-contract, parang nangingilo. Okay, heart block, yung normal na kuryente na nag-generate sa SA node, hindi makapunta ng AV node, hindi rin itatransfer sa bundle of peace. Okay, it depends on the heart block. So this is the first degree, second degree, or third degree. Pag third degree, delikado yan kasi wala ng kuryente na ipapasa na maayos. So, ano nangyayari sa puso? Mag-fail. Okay? So, kapag may third degree heart block or second degree heart block, kailangan mo naglagay ng pacemaker sa atrium saka sa ventricle. Okay? So, uh, dalawang pacemaker yung kakabit yan. Okay? So, my father has a pacemaker. Actually, 2 years na yung pacemaker niya. Dalawa yung kinabit. Sa atrium sa ventricle. Because of the heart block that he has. Cannulopathies are the most important of the primary abnormalities of the heart that may predispose to arrhythmia. Ano yung examples nito? Okay, so remember, yung calcium channel, sodium channel, potassium channel, all of these three electrolytes. Kapag mataas or mababa yan, this will bring about cannulopathies. Examples nito, mga long or short QE, your Brugada syndrome. Sa Brugada syndrome, meron kang ST segment elevation associated with right bundle branch lock. Okay, that may predispose to arrhythmia. And this could lead to sudden cardiac death. So in sudden cardiac death, there's a little arrhythmia. in the form of either asystole or ventricular fibrillation. These patients usually die 1 to 24 hours within 1 to 24 hours of the symptom onset. So, unexpected death mga ito. So, anong cause ng sudden cardiac death? Okay? So, ang trigger is still an electrical irritability of the myocardium. So, yung electrical irritability ng myocardium na yan is caused by ischemia. Okay? Ischemia. That's why the leading cause is still your coronary artery disease with or without, okay, your myocardial infarction. So, kailangan mo lang merong severe coronary atherosclerosis, which is seen in 80 to 90% of patients. Wherein they have one or more of the major vessels showing severe atherosclerosis. So, hindi kailangan mag-undergo or mag-suffer ng myocardial infarction ang isang pasyente para mamatay siya ng sudden cardiac death. Okay? So, minsan, na-autopsy mo, walang MI, pero namatay. Okay? Nakita mo lang, merong hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Okay? So, kapag hypertrophic cardiomyopathy nakita mo, tapos namatay, pwede pa rin yun. Yun yung cause of death niya, sudden cardiac death. Not necessarily MI. Now we go to hypertensive heart diseases. Dalawang klase, left-sided and right-sided, systemic and pulmonary. So, systemic, meron kang left ventricular hypertrophy, concentric type, and patient has a history of hypertension or pathologic evidence of hypertension like your concentric hypertrophy. In pulmonary hypertensive heart disease, sometimes you call this as the cor pulmonale. Madalas may hypertrophy ng right ventricle or dilatation. Could be acute or chronic. So kapag dilated without hypertrophy, acute yan. Wala siyang chance para mag-hypertrophy kaya acute. Kapag chronic, thickened, may hypertrophy yung right ventricle because of a prolonged pressure overload. Okay? Like in pulmonary hypertension. Chronic pulmonary tawag natin doon. Like in patients with interstitial fibrosis of the lungs. Now we go into valvular heart diseases. From stenosis, deficiency, is either acquired or congenital. Sinabi natin kanina, kapag stenosis, may dumadaloy pa naman, pero na-impede yung normal na flow. Pag insufficiency, bumabalik, nag-regurgitate because of incompetent valve closure. Okay? They were allowing reversal of flow. Okay, so valvular heart disease causes aortic stenosis, aortic insufficiency. Aortic insufficiency, remember, kapag yung aortic root dilated, because of aging or hypertension. So kapag nagsarado yan, hindi na uptake hindi buo. So, mayroong butas sa gitna na nag-allow ng blood pabalik sa left ventricle. In comparison sa matatanda, nagkaroon ng aortic, calcific aortic stenosis. May parang mga nodules dun sa valve leaflets na nakakalang. Okay? So, nakakalang siya. So, hindi siya makapag-open. Instead ito mag-open full para malaki yung butas, hindi siya makapag-open kasi mayroong nakakalso or nakakalang. Yan, oh. So, pag nakakalang yan, hindi siya makapag-open ng full. Hindi maka-open yan. Ito lang yung lumen yan. Yan lang dadaan yung dugo during diastole. Then you have your mitral stenosis and your mitral insufficiency. It's amplified by your RA2 and your myxomatous degeneration in NVT. So there's hooding or ballooning of the mitral walls. Katulad nito, you can see here the hood. Yan, hooding tawag natin. Ito naman, stenosis, a rheumatic heart disease. Okay, so myxomatous degeneration of the mitral valve central portion. Now we go to rheumatic fever, rheumatic heart disease. Okay, so the rheumatic fever, it's actually an acute, immune-mediated type of your disease that will affect not just the heart, but also the other parts of the body. Usually secondary to yung group A beta hemolytic streptococcal pharyngitis. Nangyari, nagkakaroon ng cross-reaction of the antibodies that should be directed against the M protein of the strep. Okay, cross-reacting with the antigens in the heart. So immune mechanism. So rheumatic fever, the development of your antibodies. containing an ITSCO cell or quadriparous cell. And sometimes it may involve the whole layer of the myocardium, so endocardium, pericardium, and myocardium, so pancarditis yun. In the pericardium, you may note for blood and water pericarditis, and within the valves, you may note for the verrucae vegetations along the lines of closure. With irregular thickenings in the left atrium, we call Bacallus flux. Ayan, so ito yung, makita natin dito yung verrucae, ayan, along the lines of closure. Then, kung tendinae natin, nag-shorten, nag-fuse. Microscopically, ito yung mga caterpillar cells or anitsko cells. Ito yung fibrillary yung parang fibrillary network, mga lymphocytes na kagli. Okay? So the nuclei of the anitsko cells could be oval or elongated, could be single or binucleated with a wavy cytoplasm. Ito tinawag na parang caterpillar, kung saan caterpillar. In the diagnosis, you need to have your Jones criteria, 2 major or 1 major and 2 minor. With demonstrated evidence of strep infection either by culture or some other serologic testing. That a major at a minor criteria. The most important of the complications of rheumatic arthritis would be evident in the valves, particularly mitral valve stenosis. So ito yung sinasabi kanina, no? So it could be single or it could be binucleated cells with eosinophilic cytoplasm. Yung ating anitsko cells, the hallmark of your rheumatic heart disease, showing as the mitral valve stenosis with fibrosis. So in inflammation, conduct rheumatic heart disease, this would end up with fibrosis afterwards, leading to mitral stenosis. So grossly, tinatawag natin fist mouth or buttonhole stenosis because of the fusion of the tendons of the commissures, may fusion yan ng commissures. Ang tendinous course, mag-fuse din sila, mag-shorten. Isa ito yung commissural fusion. So dapat separate na tatlong leaflets yan. Nagdikit na sila because of the fibrosis. So hindi lang nagdikit, makapal. Nanigas na rin because of the fibrosis. Kaya hindi siya makapag-open. So leaflet thickening. When we get infected with endocarditis, ito are actually serious bulky friable vegetations in acute, in subacute, lesser, okay, yung prices. So you can see here a bulky friable vegetation, destructive lesion, destroying not only the bulb, reflects, you can see here, siraan na dito, but even the endocardium in the valves are attacked. Commonly, they have bacteria, in bluish na yan, bacteria yan. At yung pink, yung fibrin, yung puti, yung platelets. Ito yung vegetation na tinatawag pag verrucae. Differentiating acute from subacute, destructive and acute, costs much of time. Your pyogenic organisms, Staph aureus, which are highly virulent and usually cause death or there's mortality high, affecting even normal valves, not only abnormal valves. Well, subacute, low virulence, usually they will recover with appropriate antibiotic treatment by use of virulence. Yan. So as you can see here, the vegetations. Yan. So for the other different organisms involved in enterocolitis, yung Hasek organism natin, yung Haemophilus, Actinobacterium, okay, Cardiobacterium, Echinella, and Klebsiella. And of course, the most consistent sign of infected enterocolitis would still be fever, meaning consistent then. Flu-like syndrome, and you may have complications as complication of your immune response. Murmurs is thin in 90% of patients, so mataas yan. It's characterized as a changing murmur. Kasi kapag na-detach yung verrucae, nagbabago. Minsan grade 3 or grade 2, tapos bigay grade 3. So depending on the size of the number of the vegetation. Looks criteria is used for diagnosis of pure infected endocarditis. Now we go with non-infected endocarditis. Included here would be NBTE, say among septic patients or with cancers, debilitated patients. Sometimes you call them as humoral endocarditis. Ito yun, non-bacterial endocarditis. Yung ating vegetation is just composed of thrombus, fibrin thrombus with neutrophils and platelets. Wala siyang bacteria. So, non-bacterial. Kasi associated called that Liebman sacs endocarditis. Sterile pa rin siya, small, inguntary surfaces. Ito yan. We just the different murmurs kapag continuous machinery-like PDA tawag. And carcinoid heart disease. So, in carcinoid heart disease is associated with carcinoid syndrome, presenting as episodic flaccid of skin, cramps, nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. So, same manifestation in patients with carcinoid tumor in the lungs or in the GIT, affecting the appendix, the ileum, or the rectum. And this is due to elaboration of the tumor with substances like your serotonin, your prostaglandin, your bradykinin, and kallikrein, etc. Okay. Um, the level or the degree of the degree of severity of the symptoms is usually correlated with the level of your serotonin in the blood and the byproduct and the for 5-hydroxyindole acetic acid or 5-HIAA in the urine. So grossly, in heart, you may see fibrous thickening inside the surface of the cardiac chambers or valve leaflet. Katulad yan, carcinoid tumor. Microscopically, they're just small round cells uniform, either in organoid pattern or in ribbons. Then we go into your complications of prostatic valve. So in patients with the valvular disease, particularly necessitating replacement, valve prosthesis is being used. Okay, either your mechanical valves, more commonly tissue valves, and we call them your bioprosthesis. That could be coming from the porcine or pig heart's valve. Okay, or the cryopreserved homograph coming from dead patients, yung mga VA patients na nag-sign ng donor card, organ donation, kasi na-harvest yung valves na yan, pina-cryopreserve yun until ma-match dun sa proper patient. The problem is, it also leads to complications. Remember, hindi na natural na valve yan. So it may create problems. It may generate yung abnormal flow of blood. Okay? So, yung normal na laminal flow, magiging turbulent or magkakaroon ng stasis that could generate thrombus that may be detached leading to thromboembolism. Of course, structural deterioration of the prostatic valve itself occurs within 5 to 10 years. And sometimes, since prosthesis, so there is more effective endocarditis there. And in prostatic heart valves more than 10 years old, nadadamage talaga yan, leading to your paravalvular leaks. And we go with cardiomyopathies. These are abnormalities in the myocardium, could be primary, secondary. Three types: you have the dilated, restrictive, and your hypertrophic. In under dilated cardiomyopathy, this would include your arrhythmogenic right ventricular cardiomyopathy that may lead to arrhythmia. Came from the word arrhythmogenic, leading to death of the patient. So, your dilated cardiomyopathy represents the majority, 90%. So, there's progressive cardiac dilation and contractile or systolic dysfunction. So, na-dilate na siya, hindi na siya makapag-pump. Okay? So, natawag natin congestive cardiomyopathy. So, anong causes? Marami. So, time could be multifactorial. Genetic abnormalities, myocarditis, alcohol, and other toxins like drugs. And toxins yan, so pwedeng cardiotoxic drugs like your adriamycin, doxorubicin, just among patients who have cancer, based on cancer treatment. So, usually, before magbigay ng adriamycin, doxorubicin, nagkaroon ng cardiac clearance yan eh. Pinapa-evaluate mo yun, 2D echo and some other tests. Childbirth-associated or postpartum cardiomyopathy. Dun sa bagong book niyo, sa bagong Robbins, naka-enumerate pa yung mga different substances or chemicals implicated in childbirth-associated dilated cardiomyopathy. This is higher among patients with mga hypertension and diabetes, mga eclamptic patients or preeclamptic patients. Then we have your Takotsubo cardiomyopathy, sometimes called as your broken heart syndrome. Ito yung mga pasyente nag-undergo ng dilated cardiomyopathy or nag-develop ng cardiomyopathy because of severe stress. Yung mga namatayan or break ng boyfriend, tapos sobrang dinibdib, pag percent parang nanghihina, pag, pag in-evaluate, may apical ballooning. Okay? We call that Takotsubo cardiomyopathy. It's actually a Japanese term. Okay? So, resembles yung facing part ng mga Japanese. So in dilated cardiomyopathy, the heart is large and flabby and heavy with thin myocardium. Okay, so may interstitial fibrosis, thinned out yung mga individual myofibers. So hindi siya makapag-pump. Okay. Next would be hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. So it's usually an abnormality in diastolic feeling. There's a diastolic dysfunction, but diastolic function is preserved. Okay, so since hindi siya makapag-dilate, then reduce yung stroke volume. Okay? Ang mga pasyente usually dito may patients for triathlon, okay, mga athletes who develop sudden cardiac death. Okay? Meron silang finding of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. Again, hypertrophic cardiomyopathy could stimulate yung irritability ng myocardium leading to sudden cardiac death in the form of arrhythmia. So grossly, you see here, this concentric hypertrophy. Okay? So massive yung hypertrophy niya without a dilatation. So ang ventricle ba, napakaliit, banana shape configuration tawag natin dyan. And there's a symmetrical septal hypertrophy. Okay? So septum na to, ang kapal. Ito yung right ventricle o ameuploid. So symmetric siya. Microscopically, there is muscle disarray, so hindi siya organized. There's marked thickening of individual myofibers. There's interstitial fibrosis. And restrictive. Kapag isa restrictive naman, impaired ventricular filling during diastole. So, contractile or systolic function is affected. So, ito yung mga examples nito, yung mga amyloid deposition in the heart muscle that would restrict dilation during filling. Ayan, so amyloidosis restricted. So this dilated, thinned out myofibers, interstitial fibrosis, hypertrophied myofibers in hypertrophied hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, and hemosiderin and amyloid restrictive cardiomyopathy. Fits on fluorescence microscopy shows an apolyclean by fringes ng amyloid deposit. Rheumatoid myocarditis mostly caused by viral infections, Staphylococcus aureus and other enteroviruses, but it's not limited to this etiologic agent. Pwede makita ang myocarditis even with dengue, even with COVID. Pwede merong myocarditis. These are due to direct cytopathic effect or immune-mediated. So they could be in the form of lymphocytic myocarditis, hypersensitivity myocarditis showing us a lot of eosinophils, giant cell myocarditis associated with Chagas disease, yung mga trypanosome cruzi in this myocardium. And we have your pericardial diseases, so either in the form of fluid or blood, so pericardial effusion and pericardium. Normally, merong 30 to 50 ml ng serous fluid doon that serves to lubricate the visceral organ, the heart, to the top of the pericardial sac. Pero rapid accumulation of your blood in the area, even of to 200 or 300 ml, could impede the normal contraction of the heart leading to cardiac tamponade. So, pwede mamatay yung pasyente because of cardiac tamponade. So, anong situation? Pwede magkaroon ng rapid accumulation ng 100-300 ml sa pericardial cavity. So, pwedeng pre-rupture ng ventricle. Okay? So, pwedeng aortic rupture, sa aortic dissection. Pwedeng gunshot wound. Pwedeng stab wound. Okay? Pwedeng sa vehicular accident na puncture ng fracture ng rib. Pumunta dun sa aorta. Okay? So, karoon ka ng cardiac tamponade because of rapid accumulation of blood. Pericarditis, these are inflammation of the pericardium, could be cirrhosis, rheumatic fever, SLE, fibrinous, and rheumatic fever, SLE also, MI, hemorrhagic in malignancies, and cardiac surgery cases in TB, purulent or suppurative, and a lot of your suppurative infections, bacterial infection, or chronic field pericarditis, which could be adhesive or constrictive pericarditis. Now we go with your cardiac tumors. Second to the last. Myxoma is the most common of the primary tumor in adult. Okay? It's located usually in the atrium near the valve, left to right at a 1:1 ratio, so more commonly sa left side siya. And creates a wrecking ball effect, thereby damaging the valve. This is the gross uncut section. This is microscopic. You can see the myxomatous stroma with some blood vessels. Rhabdomyoma is most frequent primary tumor in infant children in comparison to myxoma in adults. So, you can see here the thickening, the myoma, rhabdomyoma of skeletal muscles within the heart muscle, the ventricles. So, from the word rhabdo, skeletal muscle, remember smooth muscle ang heart. Okay? Other tumors could be fibroma, lipoma, sarcoma, and elastoma. For the non-cardiac tumors, there are usually tumors that are metastatic or directly extending to the heart, like esophageal cancer. Okay, it could directly invade the pericardium to the heart. In the kidneys, remember, renal cell carcinoma would invade the renal vein, goes in the inferior vena cava into the heart. Same with your liver, portal vein to the heart. Or they could be metastatic from the lungs, breast, melanomas, leukemias, and lymphomas that represents 80% of the metastatic tumor to the heart. So when you see tumor emboli within the pericardium, we know that not primary in the heart, but rather metastatic to the heart. So lastly, we have your cardiac transplantation. So among patients for suffering of dilated cardiomyopathy and ischemic heart disease, they are at risk to or they are candidates for cardiac transplantation kasi nag-fail na yung kanilang heart, hindi na nakapag-function properly. The outcome of cardiac transplantation has been improved in the last decade. Why? Because of more effective immunosuppressive therapy. Yung cyclosporine therapy is very monitored usually monthly. Careful selection of candidates and early stop at diagnosis of allograft rejection. Because allograft rejection is a real problem. So the major complication would include your allograft rejection, your allograft variopathy and malignancy. So your allograft rejection could be a primary problem requiring surveillance, occurring as classical rejection or antibody-mediated rejection. While your allograft variopathy is considered to be the single most important long-term limitation for cardiac transplantation, meaning Lahat ng pasyente subsequently will develop allograft arteriopathy among these patients who are cardiac transplantation. Kung malignancy-associated B-cell lymphoma naman, usually since immunosuppress yung pasyente, di ba? Nagbibigay ka ng immunosuppression. So kapag immunosuppress, pwede mag-set in ang EBV, yung Epstein-Barr virus. And EBV affects T cells. So kung T cells affected, yung B cells ang mag-proliferate. Okay, that may end up with B-cell lymphoma. Okay, so this is a picture of the lymphocytic infiltrates within the myocardium. So, akala mo myocarditis siya, no? Pero allograft rejection actually. This is a classic cellular allograft rejection. Lymphocytes that destroys the myofibers. And in some parts, you may see there's neutrophils and endothelial cells that are actually growing within the myocardium. So, may injury dyan, nagre-repair na siya. This is immunohistochemical staining showing us the endothelial cells with deposition of immune complexes within the area of the myofibers. So meaning may repair kasi nag-vascularization ka. Part ng repair yun, yung vascularization. And this is sure arterial vasculopathy. So sabi nga natin kanina, in patients who have undergone or have received cardiac transplantation, in 10 years, almost all of them would show some degree of arteriopathy. Yung siya to, markedly narrowed na siya ulit. Okay. So 5 years, hindi pa ganun ka-narrowed. Pero pagdating ng 10 years, pwedeng ganito na siya. Okay? So cardiac transplantation is not always the remedy for patients who have a failing heart, ischemic heart disease or related cardiomyopathy. Pero kung kaya, pwede mag-transplant. So I think that would be all for the lecture on the heart, unless you have any question. Questions? May tanong?
None so far, Doc. Thank you po.
Okay, so thank you.
Thank you po, Doc.
Welcome.